Good morning. Welcome. Glad you're with us for the family meeting today. We are just getting back from Hawaii.
Yeah, aloha.
Yes, we had an amazing 2 weeks together, reconnected, grew our love.
We're still together after 2 weeks of nothing but us.
And it was amazing. So you can check out our social media and see everywhere we went and everything we did.
It was hard for me to come home.
Yeah, not for me.
A little easier for you, yeah, seeing the girls. But
I miss my kids when we're gone so bad.
When we're gone, I don't even know we have ever had kids.
Yeah, it's weird.
So
I wonder if it's that way in your relationship. Is it like mom crazily misses the kids and dad doesn't care? Or like what's the situation in your house?
I know there's some dads where it's opposite. And some moms who are just like, when I'm gone, I don't think about the kids at all.
It happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let us know what you guys are like. And make sure that you are taking time away and going to invest in your relationship. That is really good for us.
And maybe what you need to do right now is just schedule something. Even if it's just an overnight. Just getting a hotel, even if it's in the same town.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like just getting out, getting away, doing something different, and just spending time with each other. It's a great way to connect. This is not the family meeting or anything near what we're going to talk about, but we just had that. We always feel connected afterward, and we know far too few couples who are taking that time. Mm-hmm. So it's worth the investment, the time, the money, the energy, all that.
Yep.
For your relationship. So right now, schedule some time to do that.
All right.
Ready to jump in today?
I got to yawn first.
Okay.
Okay, I'm good. Go ahead.
You never have to yawn until we're podcasting.
What is that about?
You're just bored with this.
No, I'm not. I don't know what it is. Something about the oxygen in my brain.
Yeah. Gather round, everybody. It's time for a family meeting. The family meeting is a show that's all about family relationships. We're the Osterkamps. I'm Thomas, and this is my deoxygenated brain wife, Lysandra, who's changing her name to Yanni.
Hello and welcome to our family. Welcome to episode 214 of the Family Meeting Podcast. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the love chapter from the Bible in context of loving your children. So this comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 13. You have probably heard this at a wedding.
Yes.
Even if you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about, you have probably heard it at a wedding. It's something like, love is patient, love is kind.
Yes, and it just kind of goes on,
Yeah. So actually, if I recall correctly, you and I read this at my brother's wedding.
Yes.
And then my brother and his wife read it at our wedding.
I don't remember that part of it, but yeah.
They did. Yeah, you were very one-track mind on our wedding day.
Yeah, it was all about wedding night, so.
Okay. But we want to talk more, less about marriage relationship today and more about parenting. And we're going to talk about understanding a truly godly love for your kids and how it will greatly impact your parenting.
Before we do, though, I am so excited for today's promotion, today's commercial that we put in every single podcast episode. Mm-hmm. And that is because our next project is available for pre-order right now on our website.
That's so cool.
So it's the only place you can go right now to get it, familymeeting.org/shop. And it's our newest book, 31 Days of Wisdom for Couples.
Yes.
And so it is a study through the book of Proverbs. Every single day of the 31 days, you're going to be looking at a specific portion of scripture out of a chapter. So day 1 is chapter 1 and all the way down to 31. And then we're going to give you something specific on your marriage to work on. There's discussion questions. There's personal stories from Lysandra and I and our relationship. Yep. And so we think this will be a very helpful resource for you and your spouse. So you may want to pick up one for each of you so you each can write in it yourself.
Yep.
But it's available for pre-order now on our website, familymeeting.org/shop. And it will be ready to ship in November. So it won't be long before you'll be able to have it come signed right to your doorstep.
And this would be such a great gift for Christmas for your spouse, because it's not just giving them a book, because nobody wants a book for Christmas. I know.
Some people do want a book for Christmas.
Actually, yeah. Our 2 oldest daughters love books for Christmas. But, most people don't want a book for Christmas. But when you give this gift, you are giving your spouse the gift of time and
time spent with you,
and investment in your relationship. So literally, like, this is going to help your marriage be better. What an awesome gift.
Or if you see a couple that you know and you're like, man, these guys are totally stupid, this might help give them some wisdom. So give a couple to some friends of yours that really need some help.
And if a bunch of your friends get you this book, you know why.
Yeah, you're the dumb one.
All right, should we get serious?
No.
No, Thomas never wants to get serious. He always is doing something crazy.
Lots of crazy, lots of fun, but
yeah,
we got a topic we do want to talk about today.
Yes, he's all fun, I'm all business. So we're going to get to the business portion now. We want to talk about 1 Corinthians 13, and maybe you are not a Christian, maybe you have not read the Bible very much, maybe you're very unfamiliar with this. That's okay. We're going to help familiarize you with it. We do encourage you, though, to find a Bible, get a Bible, look for one online, and get into the Word of God. It really will help you with your parenting.
Well, and the thing is, like, even if Christianity or the Bible is not your thing, I encourage you just to Google 1 Corinthians 13 and read through it, because it is one of the best definitions of what real love looks like and what it should be. And so just even in that aspect, if you're not a person of faith and maybe Christianity puts you off, it would be weird that you are listening to our podcast, but we do have listeners like that. Mm-hmm. Just reading through it and seeing the definition itself, I think will be very helpful for you, as well, of course, those of us who are followers of Jesus. Well,
and kind of following that thought, if you are not a follower of Jesus, if you are not a Christian, if you have not read the Bible, let me just tell you that if you don't know God and you do not have a relationship with God through his son Jesus, you have not experienced true love. Through God, through Jesus, you can experience true love, a real love that lasts, and it is amazing to be unconditionally loved by a heavenly Father, God, and to experience that love through his son, Jesus, who gave everything for us. So just wanted to put that in there as well. But let's start today's episode by reading through this, what has been titled the love chapter in the Bible. And then we're going to talk about it, and we're going to go through each thing and kind of talk about how this can affect your parenting and how this should change your parenting. Okay, let's start at verse 1. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. If I give away all I have and deliver up my body to be burned, but have not love, I gain nothing. Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but it rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. As for prophecies, they will pass away. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will pass away.
And so what a beautiful portion of scripture here taken out of 1 Corinthians chapter number 13. And you may listen to this or you may read through this and that opening section and wonder, what in the world is he talking about here? Paul is writing to this church in Corinth, and they had some issues that needed to be corrected as far as like spiritual gifts and all of those sorts of things. And so part of what he's writing this passage of scripture about is to correct all that and to emphasize how important that love is in what we say, how we interact with people. Like, it is the most important thing. And so he talks about the fact, hey, if I can be if I'm the greatest orator in the world, and you think about those people that you love to listen to them talk, whether it's a pastor that you love to listen to, maybe you've got a certain stand-up comedian or a motivational speaker or somebody else, and you're just like, I love hearing them communicate. They are so good at it. As a communicator myself, I am often listening to different communicators with different styles, and some people, it just amazes me their ability to be able to capture a crowd with the words that they say and how they say it and all those sorts of things. He says, if you are the greatest communicator ever, but you don't have love, what you're trying to communicate sounds like just some irritating noise. Think about if somebody just walked around behind you slamming a cymbal. Like, how annoying is that?
Yeah, I'm annoyed thinking about it.
Like, you don't want to hear it. Nobody's ever like, you know what I'm really just want in this song right here is a gong solo. Like, that's what I'm looking for in this. Like, that would make this song perfect. No, like, a gong is great in its place, or a cymbal is great in its place, but nobody's like, I want a cymbal solo, and just listen to that for 5 or 10 minutes.
Oh my.
Drag on. So he's saying if you don't have love, people aren't going to receive what it is you're trying to communicate anyway, even if you're the best communicator in the world. Or he talks about some of these spiritual gifts, prophecy, and being able to understand mysteries and knowledge and all that. You're so smart, you're so intellectual, you're so intuitive and all these sorts of things. But if you don't have, and even talking about your faith, like how important that faith is. Some of these very spiritual things that are important to our faith and to our spiritual lives. He says, if you don't have love, it's nothing. It's worthless. Like, those things are all worthless if you don't have love. And then he talks about literally things that you do, whether it's giving everything away or even offering yourself up as some sort of martyr, which some people have a kind of a martyr syndrome. They love being the martyr in every story and everything that's happening. But if you don't have love in what you're doing, like, you gain nothing. Like, it's what you're doing is pointless. It's meaningless. And so he's really emphasizing how important that love is in everything that we do. And as Lysandra mentioned, this is often read having to do with weddings. He's speaking specifically here in a church context and how we treat one another and interact with one another. But we want to kind of take that focus and talk about how it relates to our parenting, our interaction between us and our kids. And I think if each of us will take some time to walk through this portion of Scripture and try to apply it to our parenting, no matter how good or bad our relationship with our kids is, we'll see that improve in a lot of different ways. So you could be the best parent you think you are in the world, but as Paul said, if you don't have love, what you're doing is not going to accomplish what you want it to accomplish. So we're going to kind of work our way through this about what love says. We've set the stage here, and now let's dive into each of these aspects of what Paul says love is and how it applies to the way we treat our children.
The word love is really thrown around a lot in our culture.
I love pizza.
Yeah, I know you do. And this morning, our daughter Violet said she loves mac and cheese. So that word has lost a lot of meaning because of the way we use it so frequently. And a lot of times we lose sight of what true, real, genuine love is and what it looks like, what it does, what it says, how it acts. And so that's kind of what we're gonna really dig into here, especially in context of your parenting. And the first attribute we see about love is that love is patient. Love is patient. And if you are a mom, if you are a dad, you have had your patience tried with your kids.
Oh yeah, on a daily basis.
Yes, sometimes a moment by moment, an hourly basis.
Well, in some stages of parenting, like, your kids are at a different stage that is more annoying than others. I think there's a couple real annoying stages. Okay. One is when they're in the why phase.
Oh, yes.
It is an important part of parenting and their development to answer those why questions, but I find it so annoying when it's why everything. I also think that when they start to become teenagers, there's something about that transition where I just find them very, very annoying.
You're talking like 12, 13, 14.
Yeah, right in that transitional stage.
Yes. They're kind of in your face.
So
and
much of what they
loud.
do is annoying. So some of us need more patience on a daily basis than others.
It's interesting because everybody probably has their own stage of parenting that felt the most like their patience was being tried. For me, I was going to say older teen years.
Okay. Why do you think that? What is it about that you find annoying?
I don't know if annoying is the right word, sweetie. I think it's more like where I don't want to have patience with them, and I have to remind myself to have patience.
Okay.
And it's when I'm trying to think of how to describe this. It's basically like they believe that they are always vindicated and always right in everything they do.
Sure. Yeah.
So where it's like,
that's easy to lose patience on.
Yeah, where they feel like they've worked the hardest in the home, they have been the nicest, they have done the most, whatever it is.
Well, I know one thing that tests your patience too is when they're not just doing the things that they know they should do, whether it's doing the dishes or picking up after themselves. I know those things try your patience more than almost anything.
Yeah, and when they were younger, I was much more patient with them because like they're little.
A little more understanding.
Yeah, and you get it. Like, yeah, you forgot because you're a little kid. And the reminding, like constantly reminding them was easier. Plus we were much more routined because it wasn't like this kid is going to work, this kid is going to an activity, this kid is going to a friend's house. It was like we're all kind of more operating together as a unit. And so it was like, all right, we're finished with lunch. Everybody get your dish, go to the kitchen. Okay, everybody's doing dishes together. Okay. And it was more of a, we were all working together. But as teenagers, as the older teenagers, they always feel like they are right and their behavior is vindicated. So like when you know that they're wrong and they have a bad attitude, they feel like they're totally justified in the attitude that they're having.
Yeah.
Because of how they've been treated or mistreated. And that gets on my nerves really bad. So I have to have patience and be like, okay, it's a stage that they're at. I'm going to give some grace. I'm going to correct behavior, always correct behavior. But I'm also going to be gentle and I'm going to be patient. And if you have true godly love, the real kind of genuine love for your children, then you are going to be patient with them. And remember that children are constantly learning and developing, and they may not understand the concepts or instructions that you're trying to give them right away. So patience is going to help you to guide them through the learning process without losing it on them all the time.
Yeah.
Or even just walking away and being like an absentee parent.
And quoting this portion of the verse, like, love is patient. Yeah. Love is patient.
Can be your mantra.
I'm going to be patient with my child right now, even though they're annoying the life out of me.
That's right. And meditation is found early on in the Bible, meditating on the Word of God. So not meditation in the sense of the New Age type meditation, but meditating on something valuable from the Word of God. And so maybe that's the thing you need to meditate on is love is patient and remind yourself. Another time that I had a really difficult time having patience is when they had bad behavior repeatedly.
Yeah.
The same thing over and over and over and over and over, whether it was back talking or it was throwing fits or whatever, any kind of bad behavior constantly over and over was very difficult for me to have patience with. So that's another area where I had to work at my patience.
And patience is a virtue, and it's something that all of us need to exercise a little bit more when it comes to dealing with our children. It goes on and says, love's not just patient, love is kind. And I think sometimes we can forget how important it is to be kind to our children. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like we believe that we don't owe them that because we're their parents and we're in charge, so why would we need to treat them with kindness? But the matter of the fact is, that's how real love operates. So we need to be kind in a couple of different ways. First of all, be kind in the way that you talk to them.
Yeah.
And this is one of those areas where I just naturally need to work on for the way that I interact with people all the time. Because I do tend to be a little more brash, a little more harsh, a little more quick in how I respond and what I say to people. And that can be true of the way that I talk to my kids too. And so I need to be a little more kind and gentle in my responses to them and the things that I'm saying. We also need to learn to be kind in the way that we treat them. Are you being kind to your kids? And kindness shouldn't just be when our kids are doing everything we think they should be doing. When they're behaving exactly the way that we think they should behave, or for the 5 minutes of the day they're not being annoying to us. That's not just the only time for kindness. Love is kind no matter what. No matter what's going on, no matter the situation, no matter how somebody's behaving, genuine love is always kind and treats people kindly. And so we want to set that example for our kids by treating them kindly in the way that we talk to them, the way that we treat them, the way that we act towards them. Kindness should always be present.
I think it's interesting that patience is first and kindness is second, because it's really hard to be kind when you have no patience.
Yeah.
So it's like, start there. If you can get your patience under control, then it's easier to be kind. And it builds on that. Kindness was always a focus in our house, especially when the kids were little and they all had to memorize very quickly in their childhood and be kind one to another. And that was a verse that they had to quote when they were unkind to their sisters. They had to quote that to us. And there were times when I needed to remind myself to be kind to them. And I had to quote that verse to myself, once again, meditating on the thing that's going to help us. And maybe you need to kind of let your spouse know, like, this happened with us not that long ago, where I had to just pull Thomas aside and say, can we walk? Can we talk? I just have an issue. It feels like you're not being very kind to especially one of our daughters. And that particular daughter was being extremely obnoxious at that time. And I think patience was gone. And so I just had to gently remind him, like, you don't sound kind to her. Like, how you talking is not kind. And he was so receptive and, like, immediately did a 180, not a 360, a 180.
Yeah.
And became so kind in the way he spoke to her. So.
That's good math skills for you.
Thank you.
Because 360 would be right back to being unkind.
Exactly. Okay, let's take a look at our next one in this list of behaviors of love. Love does not envy. It does not envy. And you may think, like, how does this apply to parenting? What? Maybe you're envying other parents' kids.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I wish my kids were like their kids.
Yeah. Or just trade. Straight up trade.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want my kids to be like your kids. I want your kids.
Exactly.
So love does not envy. And I think sometimes we can be almost envious of our child's life, of the life of leisure they get to lead.
Oh my gosh. Yes, because it does remind you, like, you're looking at your kids, and of course, we've talked about how they can be during the teenage years where, for whatever reason, they think life is so difficult. I'm like, you literally have no job. Everything's provided for you. You really have very few responsibilities.
Almost no bills.
I wish I could go back to that.
Yeah.
Like, and fully enjoy those years that I had and not take them for granted. Because your life, we made your life pretty easy so far. There's
some really great memes out there about, like, you know, kids living that life of luxury.
Little freeloaders,
and yeah. Mm-hmm. So you can be jealous of your child's life, or jealous. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, one of the things it's hard not to be jealous of is their ability to eat whatever trash they want and remain skinny.
I know.
It's like, we have a few of our daughters who their body type is just right now extra lean. So no matter what they do, like, they have abs. They'll eat garbage and have abs. And I'm like, I haven't eaten anything with sugar in it for 2 months, and I still don't have a six-pack. Like, what is happening here?
You have a solid 1-pack, though.
Yes, I do. I don't know about solid, but I've got a 1-pack.
I'm teasing. He has a nice, like, I'm going to say 4.5
3-pack? Like, I got there. 2 abs up top and then one big one down below. Is that that's where I'm at now? But yeah.
I feel like we've described your body way too much.
A little jealous of that. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And you can also be jealous of the time that they spend with others, or just jealous of their time and wishing that they wanted to be around you more often. There's a lot of, I think, places where envy can come up in a parenting relationship. So just something to watch for when envy comes. Just remind yourself, this is not love. This is not how I should be acting. I think sometimes, too, we can be kind of jealous of the life not lived. Like, oh, man, I always wanted to be the cheerleader. My daughter gets to be the cheerleader.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
That, or the athlete. My daughters are doing jump serves, and I'm like, I could barely get it over the net. I'm jealous of them.
What do you mean
athletic.
could? Don't you mean can barely get it over the net?
Stop it. Tell everyone right now what kind of a server I am in volleyball.
I would have to say, on a scale of 1 to 10, she is a solid mediocre. So.
Okay, first of all, everybody knows Thomas lies, so nobody listen to him. I can serve repeatedly until my team fouls it up, or I foul it up, I guess. But I can serve consistently, and I can put it in different places.
And this is a good segue to our next one where it says...
You haven't agreed. People think I'm lying.
Listen to the segue.
I'm a good server.
Listen to the segue.
Okay, fine.
Segue is our next one is love does not boast. Somebody wanted a lot of credit, and that was not even planned. So...
I'm such an idiot because I really do know this love chapter.
But it goes to show our human nature for all of us, right?
Yes, it does.
Like, we're all self-focused. We all want people to think the best of us. And when it comes to our kids, it says, hey, love doesn't boast. And here's one of the things that we need to watch out for, and that is constantly reminding our kids how great we are. In certain aspects, whether it's volleyball serving or
I totally am like, who's the best mom ever? I do that to my kids, like before I give them something that I bought for them. Like I will buy them this iced coffee from Aldi.
Yeah.
And I'll like pull it out of the bag and be like, oh, look what I got for you. Who's the best mom ever? And they're like, you are. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I am. But that's more of a joke, right? But here's areas where people aren't joking. Mm-hmm. Where they may get upset about something, and maybe it is because you have older kids who should know better, who should take responsibility to make sure the dishes are done and their stuff's picked up and whatever else, or, hey, you ought to know how to brush your own teeth by now on a regular basis, whatever it is, right? And we might come back with hey, I go to work. I provide for all this. I work so hard. I'm smarter than you, I know better, and all these other things where we're boasting, we're lifting up ourselves, we're putting our kids down in the process. Mm-hmm. And that is not the type of way that a loving parent should treat their child, mm-hmm. because love doesn't boast. Mm-hmm. And I think about what Proverbs tells us, the fact that we should let somebody else praise us and not our own lips. We should let somebody else lift us up and recognize us. We shouldn't be doing that ourselves. So love doesn't boast. And I know it's tempting because I do work harder than my kids. Mm-hmm. I do have more responsibilities than my kids. But the fact of the matter is, I should. I'm the dad, right? I'm the adult. I'm the parent. I should do more than my kids. I should feel the weight of responsibility more. The point of me being the parent, they are the child. I should be bearing the brunt of that. And it's not fair for me to put that on my kids. That's a weight they're not intended to bear. They shouldn't have to bear. And so making sure that we're not boasting in the right way, in the right steps, we help them to bear the responsibility they need to in that moment for that age, for what they can do. But when I say things like, I provide for all this, I work so hard, we're placing on them a weight that is just not theirs to bear. Mm-hmm. So love shouldn't do that. Love doesn't boast.
Next, it is not arrogant. And this goes right along with that boasting. This attitude of pride and arrogance. One of the things to think about with this is not always acting like your way is the only way or the only right way. That's a very prideful way to look at life. I'm always right. Maybe you've heard a father somewhere say, I'm always right because I'm dad. I'm dad. My way is right.
Why'd you look at me when you said that?
I didn't. You're the only person in the room. Who am I going to look at? Sorry.
Look out the window.
Yeah. So just that arrogance of like, I'm always right. Because you know what, Mom, Dad, you're not always right. Sometimes you make mistakes, and that's okay.
Some of us are like mind blown right now.
I know. But you do. You make mistakes. And one of the ways to show humility is to apologize. apologize to your kids. When was the last time that you told your child you were sorry for misbehaving, for treating them improperly, for making a mistake, for forgetting something important? When was the last time you said, I'm sorry? I know a lot of you did not grow up in a home where you ever heard your parents apologize or take responsibility for any wrongdoing. That is not healthy. You need to be apologizing when you are wrong. This is humility and is loving. Don't act like your kids' ideas are stupid and immature and worthless and pointless. You know, when they come to you with ideas, I remember when our kids were so little and they would come to me with these absurd ideas, you know, like, oh, we could go to the space station. And you're like, but arrogance throws that in their face, right? Like, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. Humility and kindness just listens and treats them the right way. So don't be arrogant and so prideful to believe that your way is always best and you're constantly putting them in their place and reminding them that you are always right, because it's not true anyway.
Well, I think tagging along with some of the things that you were saying about this is being careful not to be arrogant in our response to our kids, and making them feel stupid with our response. You know, and this is something that I have to be careful of, because there are certain things to me where it's just like, it seems like anyone can figure out, like, that's not a good idea, or why in the world would you do that? Instead of responding in kindness, like we talked about earlier, kind of an arrogance can come out in the way that I respond, and also leads us to our next thing where it talks about love. And that is the fact that love is not rude. I find it interesting you gave this one to me to talk about, but...
Do you have the ability to talk about this?
I do. I have a lot of experience, so...
Okay, well, I didn't know if you knew what it meant to not be rude, so...
Yeah. But it's the exact opposite of kindness, and I just talked about this just a second ago, where love being rude. When you are giving them chores or rules... Like, it's still good to be polite. We still want to teach them how to be polite in all circumstances.
I think a lot of parents feel like this is unnecessary. Like, it is unnecessary for me to use words like please and thank you to my children, because they need to just do whatever I say whenever I say it. I don't have to be kind or, you know, whatever. I'm mom, I'm dad. And I really firmly disagree with this. For one thing, you're showing your children how to act. So, like,
and how to treat people, yeah.
Yeah, and then when your kid doesn't say thank you or doesn't say please, you're mad at your child for not using please and thank you, but you haven't used it, you know, things like that. So,
well, and I think that goes back to some of that boasting and arrogance that we talked about, where, hey, I'm way up here because I'm dad and I provide for everything, and so you owe me gratitude and thanks for everything that happens, and we feel like they're lesser than us, and so I don't have to treat them with kindness. I can be rude, and so I don't need to say please. I don't need to say thank you, which is not the case. We're trying to teach them how we should always respond to anybody, no matter what their circumstances in life, no matter what their vocation is, or anyone else. When we interact with people, no matter what they do, whether it is the people who come around and collect our garbage, we ought to treat that person with respect, just as we would when we walk into our favorite local ice cream shop and we run into the owner of that shop. We want to treat them both with the same amount of respect. And so teaching our kids to do that, we do that in all areas, where, like, you are my child, but I'm still going to respect you. I'm not going to be rude in the way that I treat you or the way that I talk to you. If I ask you to do something, even if it's something I expect, or even something that is your responsibility or your chore, I'm going to be polite and kind and say, hey, please take out the garbage. Or, hey, and this happens sometimes in our house where it's like, hey, will you please take my dishes out to the kitchen sink for me? Having that polite response instead of the rude, I just expect you. What about this one here? Thank you for obeying. Like, do
we really have to say that?
Like, when you ask your kid to do something, I think it's a great thing If they do it, to recognize that and to thank them for their obedience. Like, thank you for being respectful. Thank you for doing what I've asked you to do, whether that's cleaning out the car, washing the dishes, the dog, or whatever else.
I am constantly saying to our daughters, thank you for being such a good sister. Thank you for treating your sister that way. So whenever I see one of them treating the other one well or doing something for them or being kind in whatever way, I will make sure that I say, like, thank you for being such a great sister. Your sisters are blessed to have you.
Well, and it's just a great way to praise and reaffirm positive behavior. Show them you recognize that and you're grateful for the way that they're acting.
This next one, I want to say that you and I both struggle with. And that is, love does not insist on its own way.
Ooh, boy.
Yeah, we kind of both want our own way.
Well, and parents, right? It's easier because you're the parent to just expect that you're going to get your own way about what we're going to watch, what we're going to do on family day, what we're going to have for supper. Yeah,
absolutely. But we don't always have to get our own way. Now, obviously, your children should not be running your home. You are the parent. You need to be running your own home. Absolutely. But love sacrifices, and love says, you know what? I'm going to take a step back. You can choose what we have for dinner tonight. What would you like to do on family day today? What would be something fun, a game that you want to play, even if I absolutely hate it? How many times have you done that, Thomas?
Every time we play a game, basically.
Every time?
Every time we play a game, basically.
But there are certain games that you really don't like. And typically it's the ones that you're not good at.
Yeah.
If you feel like you can't win it, you really don't want to play it.
I really don't. Yeah.
Last word.
I just don't like the game. It's not necessarily that it's just a game I don't like.
I love that game.
Yeah.
But anyway.
You like to talk, so that makes sense.
Truth. But insisting on getting your own way, basically you're living your life like, I always get whatever I want because I'm the mom, I'm the dad. And what that is communicating to our children is, I'm more important than you are.
Yeah.
That is not what we want to, communicate to our children. It's this me first attitude. So, when dinner's ready, are you pushing to the front of the line? When things are happening and you want to hurry up and get there and you want to have the best seat and all of that. No, I understand. Like, dad gets the recliner or whatever. Like, I get that. But I'm just saying, think about what you are communicating to your children. Are you saying, I'm the most important in this house? Or are you showing that servant leadership? How about this? The biggest piece of chicken, the best piece of pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you go to get a pizza, Thomas has talked about this. You go to get a slice of pizza and you look at the pizza and you're like, which one has the most toppings?
Which one is the best?
Which is the best piece of pizza?
Yeah.
And that's one you pick first.
Yep. I don't necessarily look at the biggest. I look at what I think is the best.
So what are we talking? More cheese?
It's like size to toppings ratio.
Okay. Gotcha.
And whichever one doesn't have that big giant bubble in it that has nothing on it. You know what I mean?
Like the empty space of the pizza.
Yes. There's always that one piece that for whatever reason has that big goiter on it that's kind of turning black. And
that's where you're like, oh,
no
Isabella,
sauce,
I
no
got
cheese.
your pizza for you.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's a kid's slice right there.
Yeah. But we don't always need to insist on our own way. And that is what real love does.
Moving on, talking about the fact that love is not irritable. Not irritable. And I think this often goes hand in hand with love being patient. And it's the idea that it's not easily irritated. Mm-hmm. Keyword on easily.
Yeah, every parent gets irritated.
But for some, it's like they're irritated at absolutely everything and they can't just let their kids be kids. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I tend to lean on more of the being irritated side and not having the patience that I should. And I often have to remind myself, like, in fact, just today.
It was today.
I'm just saying, it happens a lot, but even today, where it's just like, I have to remind myself, they're just being a kid right now. Yeah. They're just being the age they are. They're not doing wrong. Mm-hmm. They're not doing something to try to provoke me or anyone else. They're just being who they are at the age they are. And that is okay in the moment where we were.
Well, and let me just share exactly what it was, because this is probably very familiar in your house. We have a 14 and a 16-year-old, and our kids are good kids. Like, none of them are horrible or monstrous attitudes or anything. Like, they're good kids. They just make normal mistakes. But we're getting ready for the day, and we're downstairs, and upstairs we hear our 14-year-old and 16-year-old like jumping off of things, cackling. They're being so loud and like just disruptive. And Thomas is like, what are they doing up there?
Yeah.
What is going on with them? I'm like, I think they're just having fun.
That was yesterday.
Oh, was that yesterday?
That was yesterday.
Oh, what happened
today, Violet was aggravating Coconut.
I missed that one.
Yeah, and so she's just playing with him, and he's
the dog.
He's loud and well, they probably figured out who Coconut.
Just in case.
But he's kind of like me. He's kind of like an old man soul, kind of grumpy, doesn't really want to be bothered. So she's playing with him and whatever else, and he's kind of growling, just kind of irritated. And I'm like, I have to remind myself, like, instead of just saying, leave the dog alone. She's playing with the dog, and he's not real. I mean, say he's bothered, but he's not really bothered. That's kind of the way they interact. So just kind of remind myself, she's just being her. She's just playing with the dog. Like, it's okay, even though it is kind of irritating to me when I'm trying to focus in on everything else that I've got to do. So,
and I will just say, as a mom, and ladies, you're going to understand this, there comes a certain time every single month where I am more irritated than I normally would be. And I think that you can probably identify with that and relate to that. And in those times, I have to be like, okay, this would not normally bother me. This is bothering me because my hormones are out of whack. I'm going to let it go. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let them be this way or be loud or whatever they're doing. I'm going to let them go because I know I'm extra irritable right now, and I need to just take a step back. I need to take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's maybe what you need to do to show love and to be a loving parent, is take a step back and take a deep breath.
Or bite down on that tongue or that lip and just not say anything.
Calm down. Don't lash out. Don't be irritable. Take a minute. All right, how about this one? The next thing on our list is love is not resentful. Love is not resentful. And it is very easy to resent our children for different reasons. Because of the life we gave up when we had kids. Remember life before kids?
Yeah, vaguely, yeah.
It was pretty easy.
A lot more freedom.
A lot more freedom. I'm glad we had kids. But
now we're moving back into the freedom stage, but there's certain times of the year where our kids totally consume our lives, and we're in the middle of one of those right now with volleyball.
Yes. But you know what? Wait a minute. Even when your kids are out of the house, and you empty nesters maybe understand this better than I do, but even when your kids are out of the house, your life is still different because you have them.
Right, yeah.
Like, and you did give up a certain kind of freedom, even if you have adult children, because you care for them, you're worried about them, you interact with them. Now you're helping with grandkids and whatever else. And you can resent that. I mean, I don't know necessarily that I do, but I think it can be something that a parent could resent.
Sure.
What about this resenting them for failing when they didn't measure up to the standard that you had? The thing that you wanted them to attain, they didn't attain it.
Okay.
Whatever that is, behavior, athletics, academics, maybe it's a faith-based standard that you were hoping for. And they didn't live up to that. And it's easy to get resentful. But love does not be resentful. Women, moms, have you ever resented your kids for what they did to your stomach? I hear moms all the time like, yeah, because of my kids, I can't do jumping jacks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can resent them for plenty of different things. But love is not resentful.
Well, and a couple things that come to my mind as you're talking there about resenting our kids. And this could be a very real situation for some, like if your spouse wanted kids and you really didn't.
Oh, yeah.
And so now you have a kid or you've got children, you never really wanted kids in the first place, and you can resent those kids, and they can sense that, they can feel that, man, that has a big effect on them.
Yeah.
But also I think, what was the other one that came to my mind? It must not be that important. It just kind of ran away when I was talking about that.
I hate that when that happens.
But that resentment, this is it. This I remember. resenting them for maybe embarrassing you.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And we've talked about how our
Yes.
our kids at different times have thrown tantrums in the store and whatever else, or made us look like bad parents in front of somebody else. And sometimes, because we're so embarrassed, and it is our ego and all that we talked about already, we can resent them for that embarrassment, you know, for pulling down our skirt when we're walking across the street in front of different cars and showing our underwear to the entire world.
That was a bad day.
So,
okay. We're in verse 6 now.
And so it continues on and it says, love does not rejoice at wrongdoing. And here's something you have to be mindful of as a parent, because if you truly love your kid, you're not going to laugh when they do wrong.
Right.
You're not going to laugh when they do wrong. Their sin isn't funny.
Now there were plenty of times when our kids were little and so cute, and they would do that naughty thing where we had to like turn around and walk away so that they wouldn't see us laughing because they were so cute and naughty. And then we'd have to get our composure and come back in and be like, that was naughty, you know, and bring down the hammer. But so we're not necessarily talking about that.
But making a joke or a mockery of it.
Right.
Where, they think that's funny when I say that word or I do that thing. And so I'm just going to keep on doing that. And then we build up this repeated behavior. And here's the thing. What's funny when they're 2 or 3 and they say something inappropriate or something they shouldn't, you know, when they're 17, 18 and they're acting like that, like that's a totally different situation. And so we're not going to rejoice and make light of wrongdoing if we really love our kids. And also think about it in this mentality, because I've heard parents say this before, you know, things like, I hope you have a child as terrible as you are.
Yeah, and like if their kid is bad, if the grandkid is bad, they're like, well,
you got what you deserve.
Just like what you were, and like rejoicing that it's bad and that it's wrong and that there's all these problems.
So love does not rejoice at wrongdoing.
Instead, rather, love rejoices with the truth, celebrating the truth. And, you know, when was the last time you celebrated when your child told the truth? I think about times when we would catch our small children in a lie, or we would catch them doing something wrong, and they would own up to it and they would say, yes, I took the cookie. You know, we would always celebrate the truth, even though they would still have a consequence for the wrongdoing. Celebrate the truth. Celebrate when they do good things, when good things happen to them. Celebrate with that. Rejoice with them. When they make right choices, really emphasize that. Celebrate it. Talk about that to your spouse. Talk about that to their siblings. You know what your little sister just did? She did this good thing. She did the thing that was right, or whatever, and really praise when they do things that are good and right.
Well, and I think along with that, talking about rejoicing in the truth with our kids, it means we're going to tell them the truth and speak truth to them as well. Like, I'm not going to lie to my kids just because I don't want to have an uncomfortable conversation. And so when we talk about love rejoicing in the truth, it's every aspect of the truth. And that means we as parents need to be truthful as well. If they ask you a question and you don't know the answer, instead of just pretending that you know the answer or making something up or whatever else, be truthful. I don't know. But you know what? That's a great question. Let's explore that. Let's see what an answer is. And just different little things like that, where we are exalting and lifting up the truth in our personal lives and in our interactions with them as well. Verse number 7 of 1 Corinthians 13 continues on, and it says, love bears all things. In other words, true love puts up with a lot. And this is the idea of being patient as well. That it can stand being under a lot of pressure and just remaining under pressure and holding that up. And it takes me back, when I think about this verse, it takes me back to the Goonies. And at the very end of the movie, as they're trying to escape from that cave that they're in, and we're talking about true love bearing all things, think of the beautiful relationship between Chunk and Sloth and the true love that is represented and illustrated there as sloth is holding up this boulder with his back so that the kids can climb under and escape. And that's exactly what it is. And here's what you're doing. You are sloth for your kids.
How many people right now are like, chocolate?
Hey, you guys. But in reality, that's the way that we should be. True love puts up with a lot. It puts up with embarrassment, puts up with annoyances, with frustration. Mm-hmm. Love bears their sadness, their sorrow.
Mm-hmm. Carries it with them.
And so that is who we are supposed to be with our kids. Instead of putting the weight on our kids, we are supposed to be bearing that for them. And so instead of dispersing that to them, make sure that you are truly bearing all things for your kids.
Love believes all things. So love believes the best. Your default should be yes as a parent. Trust. This is what we always told our kids. You have my trust until you give me a reason not to trust you.
Yeah.
How about this? Innocent until proven guilty. I'm sure you've heard of that, right? Love believes all things. Don't immediately believe the worst about your child. Don't immediately assume they're lying unless you just know that they're lying. I know sometimes we just know that they are. But believe all things. Believe in your child. Believe that they can do great things and that God can do great things through them.
Well, and hand with believes all things is this idea of hopes all things. And we keep that hope for the future. And this may be hard for some of you right now because of the path that your child has chosen to walk. They've chosen a path that is contrary to what you would want for them or what you would hope for them and whatever else. Maybe they have walked away from your faith or from your expectations of them, whatever it is. True love, instead of just leaning into the negative and
despairing,
expecting the worst, just keeps on hoping for the future. Hope for them to be restored. And when I think about that, I often think of the story that Jesus told about the prodigal son, this son who walked away from his dad. I wish you were dead. I don't want anything to do with you. And kind of left. That dad is the true example of hopes all things. True love for his son, because we get the idea from that account that every day he went out and was watching for his son to come home. Like, he truly believed that one day he would look down the road and see his son. And then one day it happened. And it tells us that while he was coming back home, his dad saw him and ran and met him, kissed him, and that relationship was restored. And you say, well, you don't know my child and you know what they've done. But here's what I do know. And I am a follower of Jesus. And I understand that Jesus died for my wrongdoing when I was estranged and an enemy to God. He took my penalty for me. And he rose again from the dead, offering me forgiveness, offering me everlasting life. He restored my relationship to God. And that means that there is a possibility for any relationship to be restored.
Amen. Yes.
And so no matter how far your child has walked, no matter how strained that relationship is, your child may have literally looked you in the face and says, I hate you. I wish you were dead. I'm out of here. But true love continues to hope that one day something's going to happen, or a series of things and actions, maybe over years or decades, is going to happen, and we're going to find restoration. It continues not just a hope for restored, but hope for their success, hope for the best, hope for the outcome. Just keep that hope burning, keep that hope alive. True love never gives up in that.
We've talked with some parents who have their parents of special needs children, and this comes into play a lot, like where the hope is the thing that is really keeping them going, the hope that they can have a good life or achieve certain things or make progress in their healing and so on and so forth. I also think about children with like behavior plans at school and IEPs and all of that kind of stuff. Parent, don't give up hope. Hope for all things. Hope, your love is going to bring that hope, that that things can turn out okay, that your child does have a future and does have a successful future ahead of them. So keep that hope. And then it says that love endures all things. Love endures all things. And oh my goodness, these different things that we've talked about, it's a lot to endure. Whether your child has walked away, whether they have special needs, whether, they're exhibiting that same behavior over and over, like whatever the thing is, it is a lot to endure parenthood sometimes. We feel you. We know that it's tough.
Well, and I think no matter what your situation is, being a parent is tough.
Yeah.
And you go through all this stuff. You were never trained. There's no manual with your kid. You're working, do your best to try to figure it out. And there's ups and there's downs. There's health scares. There's financial issues, relationship troubles, all the stuff. It is a lot for all of us.
And love will help you to keep enduring. When your love is pure and your love is right, you will be able to endure it all. You'll be able to stay in it, stay with them through thick and thin. This is the idea of that unconditional love and acceptance. No matter what your child does to you or does in life or whatever, that is unconditional love and acceptance that you have for them as their parent.
And you're never going to give up on them.
That's right.
Never going to give up on them. And it closes out this description of love with this, and that is the fact that love never ends. Mm-hmm. There is no end to true and genuine love. It is unfailing. Mm-hmm. It is unwavering. No matter what they say or do or how they act or how they respond, you're still going to continue to love them.
We just had a conversation with our girls in our last family meeting, and it was similar to what Thomas is just saying here. Someone close to us has chosen a path that we do not agree with, and we wanted to talk about it in our family meeting to make sure that we kind of cleared the air, got our children's thoughts, allowed them to think logically through the path that this friend is going through, and hear what they had to say. And then Thomas so beautifully closed out our family meeting by reminding our children that if they had thoughts about this, if they had questions about this, they can come and talk to us. And it doesn't matter what question you ask or what feelings you're having inside or what thoughts you've had, we will love you no matter what. We will love you, and our love for you will not change. We won't love you less. We can't love you more. We will love you no matter what. And that is something to remind your children of.
And here's our family meeting tonight, and that is for you to sit down with your kids and just walk them through these verses in 1 Corinthians chapter number 13, especially verses 4 through 8, where we have that definition of what real love looks like, and kind of do what we've just done for you, is walk them through each one of these things. Depending on how old they are, you may need to define what that means. When it talks about love doesn't envy or whatever else, you may have to explain it to them. But then give different illustrations of what that looks like in a family relationship. Mm-hmm. And you may say this is what it looks like between a mom and a dad and how they treat each other, about how a parent and child treat each other. What about a brother and sister? Mm-hmm. And then once you've given some illustrations, to make sure they kind of understand it, ask them to give you an illustration of what that looks like. You know, what does it mean when it says love isn't, easily irritated or not easily irritable? What does that look like in our home? And what's a time where maybe we didn't stick to it that well? And getting them to think about that. But you're having an in-depth conversation to help your child understand kind of like the applicable specifics of what love looks like. We just kind of throw around the word I love you, but this really puts some action behind it to help them to be able to visualize it and comprehend, okay, this is what love in action actually looks like in our home setting. I think it'll be a very beneficial conversation for your family this week.
Thanks for joining us today. Please go and subscribe to the Family Meeting Podcast from your favorite podcast provider. And if you found this information helpful, please share this episode on social media and invite your friends and family to listen in with you.
To find more content information Lysandra and I provide, you can go to our website, familymeeting.org. And including one of the things resources you'll be able to find is our new book that you can pre-order right now. So hit the shop tab and you'll be able to pre-order your copy, 31 Days of Wisdom for Couples. And we have that journey there through the book of Proverbs. You can also email us at info@familymeeting.org or shoot us a text or call us at 904-257-3062.
And we want to invite you to join us for our next family meeting as we discuss passive truth telling. This is telling the truth only if you're asked. If they don't ask, you don't tell. We're going to talk about passive truth telling next week.
Thanks for joining us today for this family meeting. Have a great week, everybody. This meeting is adjourned.
All right.
Another helpful episode as we kind of describe what love looks like in a parent-child relationship.
This has been a little bit convicting for me. Some things I feel like I need to work on and improve a little bit in my parenting.
Which one of those things would you say is the biggest thing you need to work on? Is it being patient or kind, not boasting? Maybe you're a little envious or kind of holding some resentment against your child for something. But go ahead and put it in the comments there and talk about how you're going to work on that thing this week. Look forward to seeing you next time we're together.